Welcome back. As we promised that in our episode, we are going to cover together the Egyptian-African relations, as Egypt is always keen to strengthen ties with all African states and in all domains. And there are all the time some talks between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his African counterparts. And also on the diplomatic level, our foreign minister is all the time exchanging points of view, visions with his African counterparts regarding a number of issues of mutual concern. In the very few days, the last few days, there were intensive talks between Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati and his African counterparts. And last but not least, yesterday there were talks between him and visiting Nigerian and Senegalese foreign ministers as they tackled a number of issues of mutual concern. To shed more light on the issue and on the Egyptian-African relations in various domains, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Good morning to you.
Dr. Hassan, you know, I feel all the time when I do speak about the Egyptian-African relations that it's simply normal. Africa is our strategic depth, and Egypt enjoyed, let me say, perfect ties with Africa in all domains for, I'm not going to exaggerate if I'm going to say thousands of years. But recently, there is a leap when it comes to the Egyptian-African ties. If you agree with me on that, and if you want to elaborate, how?
Oh, yes, of course, Africa is the strategic depth of Egypt. Egypt is originally an African state, of course, taking interest in defending all the interests of the continent against intervention from outside powers. Raised the slogan a long time ago during the era of Nasser, Africa is for Africans. And this is to be continued. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he assumed power, he raised that and he implemented a very good plan for enhancing the role of Egypt in Africa, building a good relationship with all African states.
And as I mentioned yesterday, there was only an example of our African ties, as our top diplomat received two counterparts from Senegal and from Nigeria. And among the issues they tackled in their talks, it was boosting relations in the field of agriculture and of food security to make sure that this is going to be of the top priorities. When you own what you eat, then you are safe and secure regarding a strategic issue or an issue which is stopping our national security. How do you see this, sir?
Yes, of course, everybody knows that Africa could be the basket of the entire world, not only for Africans only. So it's very natural that policymakers would think to focus on agriculture and water management as two important top of priority items in the agenda of each African state, especially Egypt. And also when it comes to this, yes, the foreign minister met with Senegal foreign minister and Nigerian foreign minister and others. Actually, a great deal of efforts is being exerted by the foreign ministry to enhance the relationship. But when you are talking about agriculture and water management, yes, Dr. Abdelati, the foreign minister of Egypt, commended highly the Senegal River Basin development, and he spoke very high of that because he wanted to attract the attention that this is a success story for water management. And when we are talking about water management, we are talking about agriculture. We are talking about even industrialization. Industrialization and everything needs water. So I think that was the top priority, especially when it comes to good successful story Egypt wants to enhance so as to repeat that with other partners in Africa.
To, and of course, the Julius Nyerere mega project in Tanzania, which was executed by Egyptian companies and acts as a role model when it comes to the fruitful cooperation between Egypt and one of its African allies. I think this sent a message to all African states that Egypt is with the development of all African states and is going to give a hand all the time when it comes to development process, to sustainability, to have a win-win situation. Tell me the impact of having such a mega project done by Egyptian hands in another African country.
Yes, this project is a great project. It speaks for itself. It shows how Egypt is extending hands for all African countries. We don't mind having a country to build dams on rivers, but with the intention to coordinate, to sharely manage the water resources and to get it to the interest of everyone.
Yeah.
So a win-win approach and the principled negotiation are the tools of Egyptian diplomacy with all African brothers and sisters.
Among the issues which were also discussed yesterday, sir, whether with the Senegalese top diplomat or the Nigerian one, it was the cooperation in the field of energy and green energy. And Egypt said, via our top diplomat, of course, that it's ready to exchange expertise in this domain and to continue with investing in this domain, as, of course, solar energy, when it comes to Africa, it can be an indefinite source of energy, in addition to wind energy and other issues in that domain in specific. Green energy is the future. How do you see this also as one of the very promising challenges and changes in the same time, which is going to take place on the ground?
Yes, I think that energy is a power for each country to industrialize, to achieve sustainable development in all fields. Of course, energy is very important, but Egypt also is very keen about clean energy and new sources of energy. And I think that this needs excellent cooperation among all African countries and enhancing research in these areas, because there are new threats in this area, and Egypt is very keen, along with all African countries, to seek new ways to go out of the box and to maximize the energy situation in each country.
Dr. Hassan, I mentioned agriculture, I mentioned food security, I mentioned green energy and energy, to say that fighting terrorism, it's not going to be only by the security solution, but it's the two sides, security solution and development solution. And as Egypt did it and exchanged expertise in the field of combating terrorism and of having security and stability prevailing through its corners, this is exactly what we are doing with our African allies to help them in the security file or the security domain via security solution and development solution too. How do you see both solutions?
Yes, as you have already mentioned in your nice words, they are inseparable. You cannot separate the two things. And actually, when it comes to fighting terrorism, Egypt went through a very tough and very deep experience in fighting terrorism, and it succeeded in eliminating that danger to a great extent. And I think that dealing with fighting, the issue of fighting terrorism, needs education and media, needs, yes, security and security cooperation and information gathering and sharing. All of these technical things are very important, and Egypt is very keen to provide all its experiences and expertise in that direction. But let us say that this is very important and very difficult and complex issue because it needs education and media consciousness of the right thing, of dealing with the root of the problem, dealing with the root of poverty, dealing with the root of religious discourse that, you know, especially when it comes to Egypt and Nigeria, both countries have deep experiences and they also need to keep it going on. Why? Because Nigeria also suffered from what we call, from what is called Boko Haram.
Yeah.
They killed tens of thousands of people and destroyed a lot of facilities in that brotherly country. And I think that it is very important to put a stop on these groups and to cooperate, not for them to re-energize themselves and come back. Yes, they were exposed to good blows and good reaction from the governments, but they could they could regenerate themselves again unless we have cooperation in the area of media and education. And when we are talking about cooperation in media and education, yes, this is a very big question.
Amen to that, sir. And to move to another country, or other countries to be accurate, also only a few days ago, the Egyptian top diplomat, Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati, received his counterparts from Somalia and Eritrea. And they also tackled a number of issues of mutual concern similar to the ones tackled yesterday with the Senegalese and Nigerian counterparts. How do you see the diversity of top diplomats who came here to Egypt and are keen to resume all the time consultations with Egypt in various domains?
Yes, so of course, the Egyptian foreign ministry and the Egyptian leadership is very keen to have an IBERD view for all African states. Yes, we were talking about Senegal in the west, we are talking about the south, and now the Horn of Africa, and the strategic position of, let us talk that there is a return for geopolitics in international relations. So I think that having Somalia and Eritrea with their strategic position in the
Sahel region, the Sahel region, and the Red Sea.
Yes,
it's really a part of our national security.
It is really an integral part of our national security, of course, and also for development in these countries. These countries need a lot of development and sustainable development, and Egypt is very committed to help out in this, because this also helps in other fields of national security, of course.
Yeah. And when it comes to the Arab African countries, they are even closer. Yesterday there was another important meeting as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the Libyan commander, Field Marshal Haftar, as the president said it this way, that the national security of Libya is part and parcel, or is very much linked to the Egyptian national security. And among the statements which were released by the presidential spokesperson, Ambassador Mohammed al-Shinawi, that Egypt is very much keen to continue with consultations with Libya to prevent the foreign intervention into the internal affairs of the Libyan country. There is a great difference between giving a hand and intervening in your internal affairs. If you want to elaborate on the difference, on the big difference.
Oh, yes, of course. You know, Egypt is having many scenarios for all the fronts that we are supposed to handle and address. And I think that Egypt has interventionist scenarios, because without interventionist scenarios, I think we will be far away from keeping our national security and also the national security of other states like Libya, like, you know, in all four directions, Egypt is handling the situation when it comes to Sudan, when it comes to Libya, when it comes to the eastern flank of Egypt. Yes, and I think that the meeting with General Haftar, with the president, that was very important because, you know, the president is the Egyptian diplomacy, keen about face-to-face communication. You know, there is no need for only for communiques and for far distance relations sending ambassadors, but face-to-face with key actors is extremely important, in particular in this very tough time where Egypt and the entire world are facing a lot of crises and complex crises.
Amen to that. And sir, let me return back to 2019 when Egypt was assuming the presidency of the African Union and really supporting the initiatives of silencing the guns, developing the infrastructure of Africa, having the dreams coming true for the best interest of the African peoples. How do you see this as the Egyptian stance, which did not change? And even if Egypt ended its presidency to the AU, yet we are still back to Africa and continuing with supporting our African allies.
Yes, this is a very important continued effort by the Egyptian leadership, and I think that, you know, Egypt is keen to help in peace-building processes as an ongoing and continuous effort. And also, let me say something about empowering women economically.
Sure.
That was a very important agenda for Egypt to spread. And actually, it is very compatible with the United Nations initiative about empowering 2 million African women. African women could play an important and very critical role in the development of all African states, especially in the area of agribusiness. And I think that initiative is very important, and Egypt is supporting that agenda and enhancing that inside Egypt and outside outreach for all other brothers and sisters in Africa.
Well, sir, thank you very much for your input and have a very good day. We were very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations. Thank you, sir. Right after the short break, I'm going to return back with more, so stay tuned.